Hello, and welcome to season 3 of The Spiritual Journalist. I'm so grateful you found us here, and I am so excited to be back. To celebrate 1 year of this vision, I had this dream that began on 11/11/2021. I wanted to look back on the past year and share 11 things that I have learned in my first year of business. And no, these aren't going to be tips and tricks about how to run a business. These are going to be 11 spiritual lessons, really, that I've learned in taking a leap of faith and trusting in the vision that I had for myself over a year ago now. So it's going to be a fun conversational chat, a little different than our normal episodes, and let's get right into it.
I've always been a deeply curious person, talking with anyone who would listen and soaking in as much information as possible. So it's no surprise my love for storytelling led me to a career in journalism. But after nearly a decade working in newsrooms across the West Coast, I realized I wanted to start asking questions you probably wouldn't see on your local news. So I left my job as a morning TV reporter and started The Spiritual Journalist. This isn't just a YouTube channel, podcast, website, or social media page. This is a live conversation where you get to ask questions too, because I'm not the expert. I'm not here to tell you what to believe. My goal is to connect you with people who have profound experiences and inspirational stories to share. And we'll definitely mix a little astrology in too. So if you're like me, you have this insatiable curiosity and you love deep conversations too, well, this is the place for you. Together each week, we'll explore everything from crystals and tarot to mental health and the environment. There are no wrong questions here. My ultimate goal is for you to come away from each episode with a new perspective and an expanded consciousness. This is a channel for the collective. This is a community for the curious. This is The Spiritual Journalist.
Hello. It has been a while since I watched the show intro, since I've been here on The Spiritual Journalist, and talking about a year of this show, looking even at the opening video, I'm like, wow, so much has changed. Looking back at that girl who recorded all those videos and had this vision of what The Spiritual Journalist would be. Of course, she is still me and I am still her, but the hair is a little longer, and we've learned a lot of lessons over the past year, not just on my own, but all of us together have learned a lot of lessons in these live streams and in these live conversations. And that's really what I want today to be. So if you are joining me live, feel free to share your insights, ask your questions as I go through these 11 things I learned in my first year of business. Rose is here, Corby is here, Rachel's here, my ride or dies are all ready. And if you're finding this on 11/11, the 1 year anniversary, of course, I had to start this spiritual quest on 11/11, and starting season 3 on 11/11 feels like a good fit too. But we did just go live in a different video talking all about the numerology and spirituality behind 11/11. So if you're into that, you can find that on my YouTube channel as well. But this episode's going to be about me. It's going to be a little bit about me. I hope you're okay with that. I think I've gained a lot of great perspective that I would love to share over the past year. So I just want to start by reflecting on everything that has transpired in the past 365 days. 1 year ago on this day, I was starting this live stream for the first time. I had my first guest on, Kat from Crystal Rising, who is one of my dearest friends to this day. She has brought so much magic into my life, and it really snowballed from there. But it's been the most fulfilling, the most challenging year, the most exhausting year of my life, the most exhilarating, surprising year of my life. So many emotions to describe how it has felt to take this leap of faith and follow this dream I had in my heart, this little seed that was planted when I was waking up before dawn at 2:30 in the morning every day as a morning news reporter here in Sacramento, and getting to a place where I just realized that news wasn't lighting me up anymore. Yes, there was a time that I was so excited to go to work and report on the news, but as my own spiritual path unfolded and my own spiritual understanding unfolded, I realized that I had the potential to reach people on a deeper level and have more meaningful conversations, more meaningful connections with people. And that was really the goal behind starting The Spiritual Journalist. So last year in my first season, I did a whole episode that was why I left TV news. And if you didn't already know, now you know I used to be a TV news reporter. If you are curious about my take on why I left and some of my experiences in the industry, you can go back and find that episode. Hi, Diane. Thank you so much for the congratulations. So this year's been magical. It's been hard, but it's been magical. And I would love to share with you some of the things that I have learned along the way and get your input and your take on these lessons that have surfaced. The first being the power of co-creation. And that's why I say, please feel free to chime in, to tell me your perspectives on these concepts that we'll be talking about, because this live stream has always been a co-creation. And that was something that I had a vision of when I thought, okay, I kind of want to do my own thing, but I don't know exactly what I want to share about. I have this skill set. I'm pretty good at speaking. I understand video production and media, but how cool would it be if you were watching a TV show and you could talk to the anchor or the reporter or the host on the other end of the screen? Logistically, that could probably be a nightmare for bigger shows, NBC News. If Lester Holt is getting all of your comments, it would be a little much. But I just thought to myself, how cool would it be if we could have an interactive conversation rather than just me spewing things to you? And that's what the live stream has always been. It's always been a co-creation. Through the last year, I have to admit, when I started these live streams, sometimes I would have one viewer, sometimes I would have just a handful, and a lot of times nobody would comment. And I feel so grateful now to have so many of you who show up here almost every day, who provide your input, your insights, ask your questions, because truly the power of co-creation has taught me that you are all here for a reason too. You're all asking the questions you're asking to help shape the episode and the conversation and to bring through your own insights. I don't know it all. Of course, I don't know it all. I'm just one human. But when we combine our own perspectives and our individual magic and we share with each other, that's really where co-creation thrives. And so often, you all know this, so often, especially during our daily transit live streams, I'll be talking about the energy, and all it takes is one person to say, oh, this is how it's making me feel, or what about this? And then it unlocks something totally new for me and opens a new perspective and a new avenue to explore. Because with everything, with the astrology transits, with spiritual conversations, we could talk endlessly. There are so many possibilities with how energy can manifest. And by co-creating every day with you, it helps me, one, attune to the energy and read the room and figure out what message needs to come through, but also I learned so much from each of you during these live streams too. Rose, speaking of co-creation, says she loves the co-creation. She says she finds the live streams more meaningful. And that's something too that I noticed. How can I do it differently? There are tons of astrologers making YouTube videos. There are tons of people putting out content on the internet about astrology and spirituality, and all of them are so special in their own way. And I think it's incredible that spirituality is becoming more understandable and mainstream. And that's why one of my core principles is to make the spiritual more approachable. But I noticed that not many people are comfortable going live. And being live and co-creation are kind of one and the same when we're talking about a live stream. And I realized I do better live when I have to pre-record something. Anything you see that I've pre-recorded, I've recorded it at least 10 times. I'm a perfectionist, I'm a Virgo. And so I recognized in myself, I'm better at going live. It feels more natural to me, and not many people feel that way. So this is how I can kind of do it differently and not just stand out from the crowd, but also create a community at the same time where we are all co-creating the forecast together. We're all co-creating these episodes of The Spiritual Journalist together, and we're building a community along the way. Now I have done readings for some of you. I know your personalities. I know your partner's names. We can share vulnerably. We can support each other. So it's not just me receiving from you, it's all of us co-creating with each other. Rachel says, number one of what I love about this show. Honestly, I feel like I have a voice now. I was always afraid to speak my truth, and you've been helping me find that and speak it. I am so, so grateful that this show and these live streams have done that for you, Rachel, because that's all I can ask for. And I think it's really a great invitation to doing live streams to be able to show up and speak your truth, because you get to kind of hide behind the comments and not have to be in person or show your face, right? That can be really vulnerable, but there's so much power in our words and speaking our truth and having our emotions, having our perspectives witnessed. And that's part of the power of co-creation too. I think it's Francia or Francia. You'll have to tell me either way. I don't know if I should go full Italian on this name. I loved it live or pre-recorded. A fresh approach to astrology and spirituality. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Diane says, I love the interaction we have with you. Being able to ask questions and share is so personal, and it's the reason I choose to tune into you for my astrology guidance every day. You guys are going to make me cry. This is so sweet. Katie loves the co-creation aspect. I'm so honored you include us in our creating this community together. And Katie, you are, all of you really, but I always say this about Katie, but when she comments, I feel like it's always something like a different perspective that it opens me up to. So really, when I was writing out number one, I had you in mind, Katie. I was like, co-creation. When I think of co-creation, I always think of Katie's name popping up and kind of like blowing my mind in some way. So that's number one. Let's move on to the second lesson I've learned. The universe has your back, but, and this is a big but, the universe has your back, but it might have other plans too. This is something, as you can imagine, I've kind of had to learn the hard way, because a lot of people, when they get into spirituality or dip their toe into it, maybe they read The Universe Has Your Back by Gabby Bernstein. An amazing book, highly recommend it. Or they get The Universe Has Your Back oracle card set, or they just hear the term the universe has your back, and it's like, yeah, the universe has my back, and it does. But I have learned that sometimes the universe has a different plan or a better plan, and it gives me something, or it doesn't give me something I think I want, in order to open me up to something that's actually meant for me. So a great example of this, and I'll share some anecdotes throughout the past year that maybe I haven't heard shared with you yet. I probably 6 months ago now, maybe even longer, towards the beginning of 2022, this YouTube channel and production company reached out to me. And they essentially they were interested in hiring me to host a series where they would fly me to different spiritual sites around the globe and allow me to like be the journalist and tell the story, and I would have a whole production team with me. And of course, I didn't reach out to them. They just found me on YouTube. And I, being the manifesting generator Virgo that I am, had already planned the rest of my life out at that point. I was like, I'm in, this is happening. I'll figure out how to adjust the daily live streams. I'll figure out how to make it work. And I had a meeting with the team. And it's funny because I ultimately, looking back on it, I don't really know what was going on their end, of course. And as you can tell, that didn't pan out this year. But I think me being honest and authentic in my interview actually forced them to go in a different direction with the show entirely, because I told them, you know, what would I bring as a host? Well, I don't want to make it about me. Like, it's about the people in these communities that have these spiritual practices. So I don't want to show up and be like, I'm the host and this is who we're going to interview. You know, that's just not really my style. And I was like, I think I can ask the right questions and shape the story and be an interactive part, kind of be the person involved in these spiritual practices and learning them. But I don't necessarily need to be the one like being the adventure host, if you will. And I don't think they even launched the show. I'm not really sure. But I could even see it on their faces at that moment. Like, oh, do we even need someone to host this? I'm like, oh, I think I might have just shot myself in the foot. So luckily, it wasn't something my heart was tied to or that I sought out, and it didn't pan out. But I know that if it had panned out, things would have shaped up a lot differently for the rest of the year. So, you know, sometimes the universe just plants that seed, like, oh, this is something you might be interested in. And I think another point the universe has your back, but is we have no idea what the grand plan is, right? That experience did inspire me to travel more and to maybe do something like that on my own eventually at some point, to do that with my own production company. But it also made me realize, I remember having this feeling of, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I might be able to go travel. I mean, they were talking about within 3 weeks they wanted to start. So it was going to happen fast. And I had this sinking feeling of, what about my live stream? How am I going to prepare for my live stream and my viewers? Because it's like my baby, you know, I didn't want to leave it. So just one example of how something didn't necessarily pan out or work out this year, but my trust in whatever was supposed to happen was going to happen really carried me through. And yes to this one, Court says, yeah. Or maybe this is what this is going to be what you do on your own channel. Yeah, maybe someday. I think that would be really fun. I don't know when, but I am definitely open to it. And yes, glad that fell through, because now you get to do your own thing on your own terms. And it's interesting, you know, instinctively I knew that I didn't know. I knew that I didn't know that I really wanted to do it. I just knew it was an incredible opportunity and that the universe would have my back either way. Another example of this that I learned this year, the universe has your back, but I started Goddess Night Out this year, a monthly women's dance night here in Sacramento. And a group of women and I, you know, formed a committee together and started this back in April. We have our 11/11 dance tonight. It's been a beautiful creation that I'm so, so proud of. And the first dance we held at a dance studio that's owned by my dance teacher growing up. And I told her, this is a beautiful space. You should rent this out more. And now, fast forward, I am the one managing the space and renting out the space. So the universe has your back, but it might have other plans. I had no intention of managing a studio, of taking on another project. I'm stretched thin, let's be honest. But sometimes the universe has a bigger vision than we can even understand. And now I'm starting to understand why the studio was presented to me to manage. It's allowed me a space to host other events. It's allowed me to connect with other people in the community in different ways. So the universe might have other plans. You just got to trust that it has your back. And my final point on this is that doubts have come up a lot in the past year. I would be lying if I said I haven't had moments of doubt or like, am I really doing this? Is this what I should be doing? Are people really receptive? Is the channel growing? Blah, 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 so on and so on. And almost always in those moments, I get a message from someone or feedback from someone saying, thank you for doing this. This was really helpful for me today. I really needed to hear this today. And that to me is the universe having my back. When I am questioning or doubtful, I almost always get some sort of confirmation that I should keep going. So the universe has your back, but my live stream was my destiny. I guess so. I always used to say that, actually, this is a perfect segue into number 3, manifestation is real. Because I always used to say, since I was a little kid, that I wanted my own show. I wanted to host my own show. I wanted to be like the next Oprah or whatever. And I thought I would have to make my way up through the ranks of network TV to get there and be the one and be noticed by some bigwig executive somewhere in the world that saw me and thought, this girl needs her own show. And then COVID happened and people started live streams. Of course, people were doing live streams before COVID, but my partner got super into cryptocurrency like everyone else in the world during COVID and started watching live streams. And he said, you could start your own live stream. You're better at this than these people. And I thought, maybe. What would I talk about though? And then you know what happened. Everything unfolded and here I am with my own live stream. And so the reason I bring up manifestation being real is that I'm starting to see things that I said I wanted manifest, but a lot of them were things I said when I was 12, 15, 16 years old that are now manifesting. This kind of comes with a warning label because manifestation is real. So when you put something out there, like, I really want to do this one day might come around and you might be like, oh, I didn't realize I was still manifesting that thing. I always used to say it'd be cool to own my own dance studio because I grew up and I was, dancing 4 days a week. And that was my passion. That was my safe space. And now I am managing a dance studio and an event space. So, these things that I said I wanted so long ago that I had kind of put to the side. I also used to say I wanted to run my own blog. In college, I had a gratitude blog that I was doing, God knows why, because I was doing a million other things, but I made it a point to do a gratitude blog every day. And everything that has come to be with the spiritual journalist is a manifestation of all these different passions and all these different parts of myself that have been expressed over the past 20 plus years, coming together and converging in a really powerful way. Oh, thank you, Rachel. Love my toxic positivity. Love how you can be real, but take a positive approach on it. Thank you. Thank you. Look what happens, Corby says, when you yield to the plans, they turn out better than we imagine. Yeah, and it's a note on flowing versus forcing too. Manifestation is often realized when we're just in the flow rather than trying to force things to happen. Even with Goddess Night Out, I manifested that without really knowing what I was doing. December 4th of 2021. So it's been less than a year since this happened. That has been probably the biggest manifestation of this last year since I started working for myself, because I never would have started Goddess Night Out if I didn't start The Spiritual Journalist. I never would have felt confident enough to do something woo-woo like that in a community where I was also on air representing a local news station. It just wouldn't have happened. I know that about myself. It really took me cutting off that part of my identity to fully step into who I am authentically on all levels, right? I was at a concert December 4th of 2021, and I was dancing, and my partner was with me. He was sitting down because he'll dance for like 10 minutes and then he wants to sit down, which is fine. We love him. He's a Capricorn. It's his thing. And a guy came up and tried to dance with me. And I just kind of turned around and whatever. But I had this thought. I just want to dance with all women. I just want to be in a space where no one is trying to come dance with me or sexualize me. And that night, I told my best friend who we were at the concert with, wouldn't it be so fun to start a women's dance night? And she was like, yes, I love that idea. I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to start a women's dance night. Fast forward a few weeks, and I'd been just sitting with this. I'd been journaling it every day. I host monthly nights for women to connect. I kind of was playing around with the language when I was journaling about it. And I was like, well, what would I call it? And then Goddess Night Out came through. And I was like, I wonder if that's taken. Goddess Night Out, Instagram handle was available. That's how I go by everything. If the Instagram handle is available, you take it. You take the Instagram handle. So it was available. And I started the Goddess Night Out Instagram handle. I literally put a picture of my eye as the profile picture and did not post anything on it for months and already had 50 followers on the account. And I was like, whoa, that's weird. I didn't share about it with anybody. And we won't get into the full realized manifestation of how Goddess Night Out came to be, but it just goes to show, especially on a powerful day like today on 11/11, sometimes all it takes is you saying, what if I did this? Or planting the seed. And manifestation is so freaking powerful. Now, it's not just a monthly women's dance night. It's multiple events every month. It's a community of over 1,000 women who are coming together and supporting each other and sharing about their own events. And next year, the goal is to bring Goddess Night Out to different communities all around the country and maybe even all around the world too. So I'm putting that out there today on 11/11. Manifestation is real, and we're taking Goddess Night Out worldwide. I'm just going to say it, speak it into existence. Aw, thank you. Rachel says, I'm so proud of you. I hope that we can bring Goddess Night Out near you at some point, or all of you. It'd be so fun to dance with each of you. Diane and I secretly want to come to one of those. Future trip to California. Yes, come visit me. We'll have a full girls trip. That would be amazing. That would be amazing. Okay, so that's number 3. Manifestation is real. If you needed any more confirmation that manifestation is real, I could tell you story after story, but we only have a little bit of time together today. Number 4 really plays into what I was just talking about with Goddess Night Out. Some creations take on a life of their own. Goddess Night Out being a prime example of something that just took on a life of its own. I knew I couldn't start it by myself. I had some friends in the community or people in my community, women who I knew were into dance and movement as part of their spiritual practice that I brought together. And bringing in their perspectives connected me with other people, created this whole network. And now Goddess Night Out feels like an entity in itself. It has taken on a life of its own. It's created deeper meaning for people, and trusting in the seed I planted, it's opened up different avenues of this community and of, Goddess Night Out has kind of become its own thing. Like it's not me anymore. It's a container that just kind of came from my brain at one point, but now I don't even feel like I own it anymore. It's just a life of its own. Even our production company, Moment Media, we started that in 2019. My dad had a business associate who wanted somebody to come film a cornhole tournament. That's how our videography business started. And we had one camera that shot high quality video and photos that we brought. And we had a drone that we didn't even buy. My mom had bought a drone, and we had just said a few weeks before it'd be cool to learn how to fly a drone or to have a drone for our business because Julian was getting certified through the news station. And my mom said, oh, we have this drone that we never used. It's brand new. Do you want it? Again, the power of speaking your desires to the universe. And we went, filmed this cornhole tournament, and that night decided, okay, well, we need to upload this to a YouTube channel or something. What are we going to call ourselves? We decided on Moment Media, and now the company has kind of taken on a life of its own. We've done weddings, we've had major projects we've worked on with clients. We now have a client we work with on a monthly basis. And now it's just kind of like Moment Media is there to serve however it needs to serve us. It's also the production company behind The Spiritual Journalist. So just following the next step kind of led this entity to be a life of its own. And of course, there are ebbs and flows. When I first thought of Moment Media, I was like, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do weddings, we're going to have all these monthly clients. I had this vision of what it was going to be, and loosening my grip on that vision has allowed it to become something even better than I thought it could be. And I will say, through the process of manifesting and creating new things, it's trial and error, right? Ebbs and flows. So doing more weddings, I realized weddings really aren't my thing. They're really high stress. I can do them and I occasionally like to do them, but they're a lot of work. So holding the initial intention that I set of starting this company with my partner, but also being open to the life it took on, the life of its own that has created. Okay, number 5. Speaking of ebbs and flows, some obstacles, not some, all obstacles are opportunities. There are always opportunities in the obstacles. I would be lying if I said that there haven't been 1,000 obstacles in the past year on every level. Tech glitches, you guys know, I have tech glitches randomly every now and again. Communication mess ups. We've had things happen with Goddess Night Out that we've had to, do damage control on and really focus on the learning opportunity and how can we prevent things like this from happening again in the future. On everything I do, every level, there have been obstacles. Even the studio I manage, it's kind of an uphill battle of getting this studio to a place where it's kind of running itself and really thriving. But I have learned so much more in the obstacles than I have in the moments of flow and ease. There are always going to be road bumps. There are always going to be mishaps, but how we approach them is really how we grow. And as someone who is a perfectionist, obstacles used to be my arch nemesis. I also have a Scorpio moon, so for a lot of my life, if I ran into a road bump or something wasn't going my way, I really had a hard time dealing with it. Like I would get really upset about it. Not to say that hasn't happened in the past year. That's definitely happened. Even just stupid tech glitches like pissing me off. But the more I face obstacles, the more confidence I have in my ability to overcome them, and not just overcome them, but learn from them. And it's a practice. It's like working out the same muscle, right, of dealing with obstacles, where now if I hit a road bump or I hit a block, I automatically go into, okay, what's the lesson I can pull from this? How can I learn from this? Not even like preventing it from happening again, but just, okay, why is the universe putting this obstacle in my path? Is it here to show me something that I didn't already see? Probably. Is it here to help me grow into a more resilient and well-rounded person? Absolutely. So now I have come to look for the opportunities and the obstacles in the moment, not just in hindsight after I let it piss me off. I really try to tackle obstacles head on, and with grace too, with grace for myself, with grace for other people, knowing that everybody's on their own path of navigating different obstacles and that we don't always handle difficulties in the same way, and just having grace for people wherever they are on their journey of facing obstacles in their lives. Katie says, I feel this deeply. It's such a big shift to go from focusing on the obstacles to focusing and growing through the opportunities. And even going back to that example about the YouTube show that reached out to me, when I didn't hear from them, I followed up. They said, oh no, you'll hear from us in a couple weeks, and then nothing. And I could have looked at that as like an obstacle or a letdown or a disappointment, but instead I learned to say, okay, there's an opportunity here. The universe doesn't want me to go in that way. The universe wants me to focus more on what I'm creating and my vision. There's a bigger opportunity here, right? Like that advice you were told and shared, be aware of, adapt, and overcome. Improvise, adapt, and overcome. Improvise, adapt, and overcome. So funny because my dad's dad used to say that. I think he got that from the military, and he was a Scorpio. He was so freaking intense, like the most intense man you can possibly imagine. And that was his mantra: improvise, adapt, overcome. So that's kind of always what I've had in the back of my mind. But it's one thing for that to just be told to you: improvise, adapt, and overcome. It's another thing to really embody it and be like, okay, how can I improvise here? How can I adapt in this situation? And how can I overcome this obstacle? It's usually not overcoming the obstacle by stepping over it. It's usually going through the obstacle where you learn the most, right? I'm glad you brought that up. Improvise, adapt, and overcome. Number 6, the 6th lesson I've learned: you can't do it all of the time. This is a lesson I'm still learning. I'm actively learning today. I'm actively learning right now, because as all of my creations have taken on lives of their own, so many freaking creations that I'm so blessed to have in my life, it's a lot. It's a lot going on all the time. Even today is like this crazy day where I've got a million things I'm juggling. And in this state of doing all the things, I have had to learn I can't do all of them all at the same time. So what am I going to do? I'm going to look at what needs to be done. What's the most pressing thing right now? Focus on that. Okay, next week, it's probably not going to be so much of a focus on this project, but now I'm having spaciousness for this project. So knowing that I can't do it all the time, as much as I want to, as much as I have this toxic positivity and believe in myself that I can just do everything all the time, I've really had to learn that that's not possible. I'm only one human. I'm only one person. And acknowledging that has been the first step of focusing on what I can control in the moment, doing what I can when I can. That's kind of become my mantra. I'm just doing what I can when I can. If I have free time, I'm going to focus on the thing at the top of my to-do list. I don't have a lot of free time, but I also, on this point, you can't do it all of the time, I have made sure to say yes to things that lighten that load or give myself intentional breaks, because I can't be going all the time or I'm going to burn out. And there have been many moments of burnout over the past year. Starting your own business is exhilarating, but it's also exhausting, as I mentioned. So yeah, Rachel, calling out my Mars in Gemini. This is a great mantra for Mars retrograde in Gemini too. You can't do it all of the time. Really trying to set aside time, Rachel says, to take care of myself first. And that's something you've been teaching me as well. Oh, thank you, Rachel. So yeah, can't do it all the time. We can only do what we have the energy to do. And also, sometimes I stretch myself so thin that I'm doing so many things at the same time that I'm really not giving the time and energy to my creations that they deserve. So knowing, okay, I'm really going to devote my energy to this one idea, this one creation, this one project right now, get as much done as I can, feel accomplished here, and then move on to my mile-long to-do list of all the other things I want to do. But trying to do everything simultaneously it's a juggle. It's a lot. And just knowing, okay, do what you can when you can. You can't do it all of the time has been really helpful for me as such a high achieving perfectionist, to remind myself to give myself grace when I do feel like, well, I didn't do it all today. I didn't get it all done today. Well, I can't do it all in one day. Katie asks, do Virgos typically want to do it all? It's a big lesson to distribute energy efficiently, learning that myself too. Yeah, Virgo energy wants to be productive. And I think that's a great example of Virgo energy, wanting to do it all the time and do it perfectly on top of that. So yes, that's definitely a Virgo trait. I'm sure some of the other Virgos watching can relate to this. And if you are a Virgo, or if you resonate with feeling like you're trying to juggle a million things, just remember you can't do it all the time. Lesson number 7, also for my Virgos, throw expectations out the window. Just throw them out the window. This is what I have learned, is that nothing is going to meet my expectations. I have extremely high expectations of myself, and things are not going to go as planned, period. Especially if you're someone like me who has this big dream or this big vision of what things could look like. How you get to that vision is probably going to be a zigzag rather than a straight line. So, from the very beginning of starting The Spiritual Journalist, I had these expectations. This is hilarious. You will think this is hilarious if you have been following me for a while. At first, my idea of The Spiritual Journalist was going to be a daily astrology forecast plus a daily interview. That was my original expectation for myself. And then I started and I thought, okay, I got to scale back. I'll do interviews twice a week. Twice a week. That's doable. Then, trying to do it twice a week for even, I think, 2 months, I said, okay, this has to be weekly. I can't, not because I don't have the time to do the interviews, but scheduling the interviews, doing all the promoting of the podcast, that takes a lot of time and energy behind the scenes. So I really had to taper my expectations and throw my expectations out the window, essentially. And as you know, this is my first time back on The Spiritual Journalist for 3 months now. If you had asked me a year ago if I would ever take a 3-month hiatus, I would have laughed. Like, have you met me? That's not going to happen. I had to throw my expectations of myself out the window and of where things would go and in what timing. So if you're someone who has very high expectations like me, this might be a helpful message for you to learn, because what are timelines even? I had specific timelines of things, milestones I wanted to hit in my business, of YouTube subscribers, things like that. And my perfectionism was challenged every step of the way. And throwing my expectations out the window has forced me to stay more flexible, be more open, surrender more deeply to the plan that the universe has for me, rather than this plan that I created in my rational mind for myself. On a bigger level, throwing expectations out the window, I thought I was going to be married and have kids by now. And everything that this business has taught me is reflected in my life too. Trusting in the greater plan, trusting that those things will happen when they're meant to happen. We want to do an expansion on our house, and we thought that would be happening this year, but it wasn't in the cards for us. So throwing expectations out the window, trusting in the seeds I planted already, this vision I have in my mind, because why wouldn't it come to fruition? Everything else, even since I was a kid, that I've said I wanted to do has happened. So why wouldn't these things happen? It's just a matter of the timing and the rigid timelines that I've set for myself. I keep saying myselves, which is interesting. That's an interesting Freudian slip, because, there's so many versions of me that I'm reflecting back on right now. But anyway, I digress. I've had to throw a lot of expectations right out the window this year. And yes, as Rachel just said, I let it be easy. Having expectations, they're hard to meet, right? So letting things be easy, still being intentional about what I want to create, but letting things flow in their own time has been really helpful. And not just let it be easy, but also let it be messy. Coming back to that Virgo energy, my expectations of how things look, how things go, this perfectionism, even my house being perfectly clean all the time. This show and this business has taught me that is not possible, to run multiple businesses full time and have a perfect house all the time, at least not at this point in my life. So that's something I have had to throw out the window too. Allowing myself to be messy, to show up messy, and not meet all of these crazy high standards that I've set for myself. Lesson number 8, maybe my favorite lesson. I have learned the power of community this year. Not just this community that we're creating together, but a physical community I found for myself too here in the Sacramento area. About 2 years ago, I was going through my own dark night of the soul, and I felt so lonely and so isolated. And I would look at other groups of women and think, like, I just want that for myself. I just want like sisterhood and community. And I would almost feel resentful or like, well, why hasn't that happened for me? And then I took ownership of it, right? And I put myself out there. I went to this event called Safe Circle here in Sacramento. They haven't been doing them for a while, but a beautiful woman named Tuesday, who I've had on the show, she started Safe Circle. And it was just an open circle it wasn't just for women, but only women came to come and just talk in a safe space. And just putting myself out there and going to one safe circle opened me up to an entire community of women over the course of a year and a half. And now I have more friends than I've ever had in my entire life. And I feel so supported. I feel more supported than I ever have in my entire life. I have a lot of like friendships, that are just community based where I get along with people, but they're not my best friends. But I've also never been closer with my best friends either, because I've stepped into my own power and I am not, the power of sisterhood for me, something I have learned a lot, especially recently, is when you feel supported by a community of people, it's easier to detach from toxic connections or needy connections. I've learned a lot about friendship without expectation and finding people in my life who can be my friend and support me and uplift me without there being this obligation to show up for each other in a certain way. Of course, there's a standard we have and a respect we have for each other, but it's really beautiful to have connections with people where you can each be having your own experience and hold space for the other person's experience as well without being energetically tied to it or taking it on. And I think this is something, especially with women, I'm sure there are some of you watching or listening to this who have had friendships where it feels like there's an expectation. You have to be my best friend. You have to show up this way. You're expected to do this. And I've had several friendships throughout my life like that. And a lot of them have fallen away as I found a more authentic community, as I found connections with people who see me for all that I am and appreciate me and allow me to have my own experience. It's been so beautiful, and calling in community has been one of the most powerful things and the most abundant things I've done for myself. And not just any community, but a diverse community. I've met people from all different backgrounds, all different cultures this year. Just really trying to diversify the circle of people that I interact with has helped me grow as an individual too. And then coming back to this community here, of course, think about the diversity of the community that we're creating together. We have people of all genders. We have people from all over the world watching this live stream. And it's so beautiful when you bring a diverse group of people together and realize that we all feel the same a lot of the time. It doesn't matter what we look like, how much money we have, what TV shows we're into, what our political affiliations are. Many of us are having really similar human experiences. And to me, that has been the biggest lesson I learned from community, is that we're all similar more than we are different. And like I said, I've just never felt more supported and seen and uplifted as well as I have since I made the decision to create a community for myself. I am continually blown away by the people the universe puts on my path. Rachel says, so speaking about selves and astrology, I feel like every planet is an aspect of ourselves combined into a beautiful creation. I love that interpretation, Rachel. We love all of your planet selves. Thank you. Thank you. I feel that way too when I look at the chart. It's like the different planets represent different aspects of ourself or our personality. Yeah. Okay, well, moving on from this beautiful community that we are creating together and the power that we have when we work together to lesson number 9. We are all a little psychic. This has been a really powerful realization I've had over the past year since starting specifically my daily astrology live streams, because the astrology live streams came from my rational, well, I shouldn't say they came from my rational mind. I got an intuitive hit to start doing them, but being ruled by Mercury, ruled by my mind, of course, my mind made a reasonable connection of why I was being called to do that, right? But following intuitive nudges, intuitive hits has opened me to the most magic over the past year. And opening myself to receiving messages from my guides has been wild. Wild, wild, wild. And this has been over maybe the past couple years, but truly I have stepped into this ability to channel, it feels like. I have seen these live streams as an opportunity to channel information that needs to come through, knowing that we're all a little bit psychic, that we can all tap into that universal flow of knowledge and energy. And bringing on spiritual people to the show has been a mirror for me to see how my intuitive abilities are expressed. We all have different expressions of our intuition, but it's been really awesome to witness kind of the woo-woo come through more and more over the past year. And when I say we are all a little psychic, that means you too. Kind of going back to what I was saying at the very beginning of this episode about co-creation. When you are writing things in the chat, oftentimes they're things I need to hear. And when you get that intuitive nudge or feeling like, oh, I should say this, I should go out of my way, instead of just being a bystander and watching this live stream, I want to express this or share this. There's a reason you're sharing it. And that's part of the co-creation, each of us tapping into our own intuitive abilities to create this beautiful conversation together. I want to share one story about tapping into my own psychic abilities, if you will. Nick says Olivia is definitely psychic. I don't know how I feel about calling myself psychic. I feel like there's a lot of, there's a connotation with that word. But screw it. I'm just going to be full woo-woo here. We've already had an episode on mushrooms, so I think we can go there. A few months ago, my best friend and I had been saying we want to try like a mushroom journey. We'd microdosed mushrooms before, but I had been really feeling called to do a full journey. And I just expressed that to her a couple times, but it wasn't like me seeking it out or trying to find it. And we had a friend of ours in our community offer this opportunity to sort of be a guinea pig for this group of women who wanted to start facilitating deeper mushroom journeys. So we said yes. And through that experience, I had the most profound connection energetically. Basically, without getting into the full experience and story of it, we met the night before at this woman's house and we did a little overview of how the ceremony was going to go. And when I was there, she had an altar set up. She had crystal grids around the house. She energetically cleansed the space. It was a really, really, really beautiful opportunity. And she had the altar set up. And I had just about a week before, I was at my mom's house and she had this bowl that was my great grandma's. And I asked her, can I take that bowl? It just had like old shells in it or something. And she was like, well, that's mine. And I was like, yeah, but I want to do a crystal grid with it. Or I just really feel like I want to have it in my house. So she let me take it. And when I was at the woman's house looking at the altar, I heard this voice like, bring the bowl. So I brought the bowl the next day and I was like, I kind of want to just put this on the altar if that's okay. And of course they were open to it. I had the most wild experience where I felt my great grandmother come into my body and kind of like take over for several hours. And It was amazing. Like, I can't even think about it without smiling. I was crying tears of joy the whole time. And through that experience, as I was going through all these waves and, all these incredible visuals and things, I pulled out my journal towards the end. And as I was writing, it didn't even feel like I was thinking. It was just like my hand was moving and things were coming out onto the page. And something that kept coming through was that you are a channel. Like, you are channeling. Your ability to channel, you're not crazy thinking that you're actually channeling things. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And yes, it sounds like a really safe space to explore that experience. Anyone in the Sacramento area, I would highly, highly, highly recommend this woman. She was amazing. And I have multiple people I can recommend, because you want to make sure you feel safe and good when you're doing any sort of plant medicine journey like that. That's a caveat I would give for any sort of journey. Yeah. And being, having the mushrooms in me, connecting me to energetically to this like network, just made me realize that we're all connected, and this is something we can all tap into at any moment. We just have to open ourselves up enough to allow it and not let our rational minds override the intuitive feelings that we're getting. Yeah, they got better results on the card testing after the mushrooms. Oh, the 1950s show One Step Beyond had an episode titled The Sacred Mushroom. They did psychic testing with cards, the ones with symbols on them, like in Ghostbusters. Yes, I wholeheartedly believe, if you haven't watched the movie Fantastic Fungi on Netflix, that's a great jumping off point, because the cool thing about mushrooms is that they are interconnected in this vast network of all living things, really. And so I believe that when you consume them, you get tapped into that network too. We won't make this a whole episode about mushrooms, but it was just confirmation to me, that experience and so many experiences I've had over the past year, that it's not just me. I'm not just intuitive or psychic. We're all a little bit psychic, and we can all tap into those abilities if we open ourselves enough to experiences that allow our bodies to go there, to be receivers of this information, to sense energy differently. Yes, highly recommend Corby. It was a beautiful experience. I will say, there were 4 of us in this ceremony, and we each had very different experiences on a similar dose. So the mushrooms will show you what you need to know. If you're going through some hard stuff, you might have to face some hard stuff. I was very fortunate that I had the most blissful, beautiful experience, and came home, and now I feel even more deeply connected to my great grandma than I did before. I feel like she's just like always in me now. She's always within me, which is amazing. And that, I think, is part of tapping into being psychic as well, knowing that we are like living manifestations of our ancestors. All of their wisdom lives within us. Anyway, I could go on, but 2 more to get through. Lesson number 10, say yes to joy. Say yes to joy. Life is short, and we only have one life, and we never know when it's going to end. I'm really in my like YOLO era. I'm like, opportunity, yes, I will say yes to it. Someone wants to partner with me on something, yes, let's do it. If it feels fun and exciting and joyful, it's a yes from me. And saying yes to doing fun things has almost always been a catalyst for these big realizations I'm having in my life, or up levels. Even on Monday, I was telling you all about earlier in the week. On Monday, I went to a concert in the Bay Area, a concert of somebody, an artist that I am not necessarily a huge fan of, but my best friend wanted someone to go with her. So I said yes, had this little adventure, and it was such an incredible experience. Being in that venue, hearing this woman's music, it was, I had all these realizations and powerful downloads, saying yes to going to Europe. Did it rationally make the most sense? Probably not, but we only have this one precious, beautiful life. And I have learned to say yes to joyful experiences so much more easily this year. saying yes to even just getting coffee with people. I've had multiple people through the past year reach out and ask to grab coffee. And 99% of the time I say yes, because I have no idea what waits for me in that connection with the other person, what perspective they can offer me. And I trust that the universe is putting them on my path for a reason. So saying yes to new experiences and doing it scared, saying yes to things that scare me a little bit too, not just things that feel easy and joyful, but knowing if there's an edge there that scares me a little bit, it's probably going to be a growing experience. And of course, checking in with myself, checking in with my intuition. But I've been saying yes a lot more this year, and laughing at how ridiculous life can be too. Like just choosing joy in the obstacles, choosing joy in the mishaps, choosing joy in the unfolding of what's going to unfold, and laughing at how ridiculous and synchronistic and wild and beautiful life can be. And just being in that vibration of yes invites in more joy. You know, it's the law of attraction. You put out what you receive. So when you say yes to something, whatever you're saying yes to is going to say yes right back to you. Yes is one of the most positive words that we can use if it's a full body yes, right? And that's something to think about as well. You might have heard this term. Is it a full body yes? If you feel it in your bones, if you feel like, oh, I really want to do that, that's a full body yes. If you're saying yes out of obligation or people pleasing, are you really saying yes? Or are you saying, yeah, I'll do that because I have to, because I feel like I have to. So saying yes from a full body yes, from a place of inspiration and joy. Corby says, joy is always the way to go. Yeah. An invitation to the unknown, but a good unknown, she says. That's what yes has been for me this past year. And the last, well, not the last lesson, but the 11th lesson that I have learned in the past year since starting The Spiritual Journalist is to trust in divine timing. This plays into everything we've talked about already, but everything that's happened in the past year has come in perfect time, just the most divine timing. Even quitting my job came in divine timing in so many ways. You can go back and watch the episode about why I left my job in TV news, but everything that happened towards the end of working there felt very divine and pushing me out the door. The books I read have come in divine timing. The people I've met have come in divine timing. Even the events I'm planning, we plan around the energy of the full moon and the people we're meeting along the way. It's like, oh, this person would be great for that event. And, so everything happens in divine timing. And that is a beautiful place to be in, and trusting that, because it helps release the expectations, allow creations to take on a life of their own. It helps me, at least, trust in all of the other lessons that I've learned, just reminding myself that everything is happening in divine timing and that I'm always guided and I'm always taken care of. And especially in the pauses, in the slowdowns, in what sometimes feels like obstacles, divine timing can be found there too. So yeah, just learning to trust on so many levels, learning to embrace the pauses and the slowdowns because they're rare these days. And sometimes plans falling through. There's this woman that I worked with. She's a photographer down in San Luis Obispo, and she always says God is the best secretary. And I think that's a fun way to look at divine timing. And she usually says that, pops on her Instagram stories when it rains and a shoot gets canceled or something like that. But that's where trust in divine timing for me comes in, is like, okay, this person canceled on me, this meeting got moved back, this person fell through or had a conflict, or the thing I bought on Amazon didn't come in time. All these things that feel like we need them to happen when we need them to happen. When they don't happen, trusting that they will happen in divine timing, or that they weren't meant for us at all. So, and just patience too. I think that goes without saying, but I've learned a lot of patience on so many levels in the past year. Patience in this show growing, patience in my creations, manifesting patience in other people, just grace, grace in divine timing too. Yeah, and go with the flow. Nick's mantra always, go with the flow. Yes. Katie says, this live stream has really helped me find my joy. I've been through some dark days while a part of this community, and you guys encourage me to find my light through the dark. Because you are the light. You are the light in the dark. Even when it feels difficult, you are always a light, and you bring so much joy to us. And sometimes being in the dark can feel like a delay or a pause, but trusting that the light will shine again exactly when it's supposed to shine, and it'll probably be brighter than you even want it to be or could imagine it to be. I love that, Rachel says. It's like, I don't have to worry. God is taking care of it. Schedule through the universe, please, and thank you. Yes. Thank you, divine timing. Thank you, God, spirit, universe. You clearly have a better plan than I do, so we're just going to go with the flow and roll with it. Oh, Corby and Rachel say they are feeling the same as Katie. You've all been helping me find myself and believe in myself. So grateful. And Katie says, another great reminder, we are not in control. There's always a bigger plan than we can imagine. Our light will be realized in time, in divine timing. The best plans are, what's that term? Like the best plans are laid in divine timing or something like that. We never know what's going to pop up. We never know what's going to happen. We just can trust that whatever is supposed to happen is going to happen, and it's going to happen in divine timing. So those are the 11 biggest lessons I've learned in the past year. I hope that this show gave you a little inspiration, a little bit of encouragement, and reminded you that you have so much magic within you. And even if it feels like things aren't going according to plan or exactly how you want them to go, that you can trust that they will unfold exactly how they're supposed to. And that I can trust too in the future of the spiritual journalist, in whatever this show is going to become and whatever this creation is going to evolve into, because I trust in the seed I planted and how much abundance it's already brought me in the past year. It's brought all of you to me, which is amazing. You know, it's created this whole new network of people, you all knowing each other now. We never would have met each other if the spiritual journalist hadn't started. So trusting in the magic of your creations too, and how many people you can bring together, how much magic you can create in your own lives and bring into this community as well. Yes, the best plans are no plans. I think that's one of the sayings. Yeah, speaks to no expectations. Very true. You usually have the most fun when you don't have any plans, I think. But I'm a Virgo. I like my plans. Yeah, or God laughs at our plans. Yeah, that's a good one too. Just so thankful for this community and excited for all the adventures we have ahead. Can't wait to meet you all in January. Yes. I was like, January. Yeah, our course, Transit Trackers, starting January 21st, 2023. That's going to be so much fun. We'll all get to like see each other's faces on Zoom and talk with each other. Really, get to know each other better than just the names that pop up in the comments. And so if you're not part of that yet, we would love to have you. Still on sale for $88 for a 4-week container that will be learning to track the transits through your own chart. So we'll start by getting a basic understanding of our charts, the houses, how the sun, moon, and planets move through our charts, and what patterns that we can look at and how they impact us. So it'll be 4 weeks. We'll have a meeting every week. There will be more details as it gets closer, and I'll find the best time for all of us to meet. But you can sign up for that at thespiritualjournalist.com/shop. And I would love to connect with even more of you through that group. I know so many of you are already signed up, which is going to be so much fun for you all to meet each other. Yeah, so excited to see and engage with you all, Corby says. So excited for January. Rose says, I remember when I first started watching earlier this year, there weren't as many people commenting in the chat. So happy we are more vocal in the chat. Yeah, a lot of you have gained confidence in the chat too. I love that. I love that. I love witnessing each other's growth, Katie says. Witnessing has been a huge theme of the year for me, the power of witnessing each other and the power of being witnessed. Aw, we really love you too, Corby. And Rachel, and just everybody here. So much love. And speaking of so much love, I want to end today's show with another card pull. I think it deserves a card pull. And then our final giveaway announcements. So I'm going to pull from the Starseed Oracle. Feels very mystical. It feels very on brand, even the color of it, for the spiritual journalist. And I think this card pull, of course, will be a message for anyone listening that needs some guidance right now, but also for the future of the spiritual journalist, what we need to know about the future of this community and this creation. So, without further ado, here we go. Let's breathe in together, breathing in nice and deep. What do we need to know about the future of our creations? The card is perspective. None of this matters. Zoom out, common ground. I love that. And it's like a picture of Earth very far away. Perspective. I love that this card came up when I'm talking about what's the future of the spiritual journalist. For me, it's like, it doesn't matter. That's the card that came through. None of this matters. Okay, here's what it says. Take a step back and look at the bigger picture of your life. Step away from the blinkered vision and reactive frame of mind of me against them. Change your perspective, shift your point of view, and zoom out, out, out. We are but a speck of dust in the universe, yet we think everything revolves around us. We see the planet as ours to own and conquer, pillaging the land and setting ourselves up for eventual extinction. We build fences and walls and create invisible borders. Mother Earth doesn't need us to survive, but we need her. It's time to wake up. A new perspective is urgently needed. We become so lost in our individual experience that we don't realize that most of the things that keep us awake at night are actually distractions. We're wasting our precious time and resources fighting each other when we should be coming together to heal what's been severed. The moment is a breath. This moment is a breath in the timeline of your life. This life is a fleeting moment in the tapestry of your soul's experience. Your soul's experience is a flash in the timeline of the known universe. And the known universe is a grain of sand in the unknown universe. Take a moment to see the bigger picture. Find common ground, to find deep compassion in your heart, to gain a greater perspective of humanity in this fleeting moment, in the timeline of your soul's existence, in the timeline of all that is, was, and ever will be. How are you being called to change your perspective? Yes. The universe calling me out. Perspective. None of this matters, but I do love this card. Oh, Katie says, thank you for sharing your journey with us. Such great insight and perspective. I'm so grateful to be a mirror for all of the magic that lives in you. Rose says she loves this card because it reminds her that sometimes our worries really aren't shit, because the best is yet to come. Yeah, what we're worrying about in the moment is just, even in our lifetime, a speck on the timeline of our experience, right? We are like a speck on Horton Hears a Who. I love it. Fresh perspective as we go into the unknown. I love how it says come together and heal. Rachel says that is this channel. And as I was reading that, it made me realize that I have high expectations, a vision of what is the spiritual journalist going to become, but what it already is perfect for this moment. Everyone who is here is exactly who needs to be here. And that's the perspective I think that can be gained from looking at the bigger picture, from zooming out, even from looking at the past year, which is nothing on the timeline of the universe, but looking at what I've learned in the past year has been so healing and refreshing and giving me great perspective about how much can happen in a year. So I'm excited for what the future of this show holds and the future of your lives as well, and to be able to witness each of you in your own rise. So with that, I think it's time for some giveaways. I did 5 days of giveaways on my Instagram page, and so I have the 2 last days to give away right now. If you haven't already entered, you might still be able to. All you had to do was comment on the reel I posted, and there's a good chance that you will win because there were a limited number of entries, which is good for you. So I have this pulled up here. Let me get the random generator ready to go, and we'll see who is going to win. All right. Okay, here we go. So it's not the prettiest generator, but I think it will work. We're first going to choose the winner of the $22 gift card to the spiritual shop. This can be applied to any of the merchandise on the shop. So here we go. Send good energy to the random generator and see who is going to win the $22 gift card. Christina Cowan-Hemler. Christina, she's the winner. I will find you and reach out to you on Instagram. You won a $22 gift card to the Spiritual Journalist. Okay, now though is the big kahuna. A 1-hour reading with me is how I'm celebrating 11/11 today. So we'll see who is going to win the hour-long reading. Here we go. Picking another winner now. The winner of the hour-long reading is... This is me, you, us. I'm so excited. I don't think I know either of these people, and so I get to connect with new people, which is the most fun. Congratulations to both of you. Thank you to everybody who entered the giveaway. I appreciate all of you so much for helping me celebrate 1 year of this creation and for being here, for sharing your perspective. It's been incredible, and I'm just so grateful to see what the next year is going to hold. Rose says, your live streams in the chat keep me sane as a new mom. So thank you, Olivia and everyone. Oh, thank you, Rose. You always bring some light and laughter to the comments. Yeah. And thank you all for celebrating the winners. You guys have the best energy, and just so grateful. I think I've said that 20 times, but seriously, I'm so grateful for each and every one of you sharing your time, sharing your energy with me whenever I'm live, whenever I put something out into the world from my heart to yours. I just am in such deep awe and gratitude of the people the universe has brought into my life. Yes, I love that perspective, Rose. Yay for these winners. Maybe they'll be new to our community here. Yes, that is a great perspective. All right, everybody. That's going to do it for this episode of The Spiritual Journalist. We'll have another episode next week, more episodes of Transits Today next week as well. If you're not already liked and subscribed to the channel, I've been talking too much today. My words are getting all crazy, but that means it's time for me to go. Time for me to give this voice a rest for the rest of the day. And I'll be back next week with a new episode. But until I see you next, happy 11/11 and stay curious.
Thank you so much for joining our discussion today. If you enjoyed this episode of The Spiritual Journalist, you can find more on thespiritualjournalist.com, or you can listen to our conversations wherever you enjoy podcasts. And if you want to learn more about astrology, join me live every weekday morning on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter for Transits Today, where we break down the energy of the day based on the movement of the planets and start our morning off in a high vibe. All of the information we share on The Spiritual Journalist is completely free to you. So if you'd like to support more content like this, the easiest way to do so is to subscribe to our YouTube page. Head over to the Spiritual Shop on our website and buy yourself a little something. Or if you're feeling extra generous, you can buy me a coffee to fuel future live streams. Just tap the link in the description or head to buymeacoffee.com and search The Spiritual Journalist. I'm so grateful you found us here, and I can't wait for our next conversation.